Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know, my name is Izzy, and this week I was having a bit of difficulty coming up with a specific set of things that I wanted to talk about, but I had a bunch of different discussion points that I was like, I really like this idea and I really like this idea, and how can I turn it into just one video? So instead, here is a bunch of different things that I think it's about time to talk about as we're almost into February. So overall, I would say these are kind of things that people can be anxious about going into camp. How am I going to deal with these problems when I get out there? As well as things camp directors might start asking you about. They won't necessarily want you to have all the answers, but they'd like to know you have thought about the answer to some of these. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first one is how to get over homesickness. A lot of people haven't been away from home for this long. They haven't been put in these kinds of situations. They're very difficult. They are like, you're working long hours, it's hot. If you aren't prepared to get in there and be 100%, it can get really lonely. So I remember my first day at camp in 2018. I was 19. I had not had a meal in 24 hours, which was partly my own fault because I wasn't paying for Uber Eats, and then there was nowhere at the airport because I stayed at a hotel and then I went back to the airport to get picked up the next day. There was nowhere in the airport that I could eat, and then when I got to camp they didn't have any gluten-free food prepared for me, so I hadn't eaten in like 24 hours. I was tired. I was surrounded by a bunch of British people who were all discussing where in England and the UK they were from, instead of just saying they were from England, and I felt like really left out. Just all the insecurities you have at 19, being so far away from home and just being so nervous. And I was like, Mom, I need to come home. This isn't for me. And I remember her being like, it's okay, give it a day, you'll be fine. And then the next day I found, still to this day, one of my best friends, and I got more than just a crusty old salad, and I had people around me. I met the other Australian who went to my camp, and I just felt so much more settled. As for other people, you might take a couple of days to be homesick, you might take a couple of weeks to be homesick, but it will hit you eventually. It's up to you how you deal with this. There are some people that homesickness can be cured by calling your parents. There are people like me who, if you just throw yourself into everything and you are making sure you keep busy, that is the best way to get over homesickness. It's also the method I generally use for campers when they get homesick. I'm like, let's just go to activities, let's just do stuff, because the more you do stuff, the more distracted you are, the better it is. Otherwise, maybe it's a nap you need. Like, it's so easy to want that feeling of home and being around your family when you're exhausted and you're hot and you're being yelled at for the 10th time. If you can, maybe on a really bad day, just go to bed super early. Like, not skipping activities, but as soon as you can, catch up on your sleep. Or maybe you just need like a little time to reset yourself in another way, whether it's like having a workout and an everything shower. But I find the feeling of homesickness either comes in right at the beginning before you make friends, or it comes in when you're really having those tough moments right before you grow. And sometimes you just need to check in with yourself, whether it's through the workout or it's through sleep and just looking after human. Second thing, how to make friends. I find this can be another huge anxiety of counselors is, am I ever going to make friends? I fully, as somebody who has traveled quite a lot and moved to new places to work seasonal jobs a fair amount in the past 7 years, think that it comes down to having 10 seconds of confidence. On your first day at camp, fake being super outgoing, confident, bright, bubbly. Yay, I'm the best person ever, I'm so excited, I'm so ready. Pretend you don't have all the insecurities, and then when you're ready and you kind of have a conversation going, then you can be like, yeah, no, I'm super nervous too, like really not sure what I'm doing. And because you've already started a conversation, you can go back to being a little anxious, but you just need to start a conversation. There are people you are going to meet at camp that are definitely going to be the kind of people you can make friends with. And I know, like, no matter how many times you hear you just have to fake being confident and you'll be fine, but until you're at camp and you do it, it sounds made up, it sounds like it's not possible, but I promise you, just fake it for 10 seconds and it's going to make your life so much easier. Something else that can feel really anxiety inducing is how are you going to show leadership, especially if you haven't been in any kind of leadership role before. Like, I remember when you fill out the application for the first time, it's like, how have you shown leadership? How have you shown being a leader in your community? Whatever else, teamwork kind of stuff. And for people other than playing sports, you won't necessarily have had a leadership position. So it can be really hard and daunting to be like, I don't know, I've never been a leader. But I think really when it comes to camp, what they're looking for in leadership is, for a lot of camps, it's about, are you presenting yourself well? Are you being present during activities? Are you there on time? Are you showing campers how to interact with each other, how to actively listen? Are you showing campers how to create friendships, not just amongst themselves? How are they interacting with their leaders? How are they interacting with staff? It's about treating everybody equally, showing them that you care about each other through your words and through your actions. It's when you promise them something, are you following through so that they know that promises mean something in your cabin? It's all of that mixed together. Something else I find really important is if you have chore charts in your cabin and at your camp, making sure that there is a role for counselors, that the counselors are doing more than just like being the boss and telling people what to do. Are you leaving room on your chore chart for the counselors to do a job? Like, sure, make sure you have someone free to help the campers and make sure they're doing what they're meant to, but also if you have 3 counselors in your room and 3 people on, have 2 people helping out and doing chores, but also having 1 person to help out the campus. It's about spreading out and like showing them that you are actually a part of a team, not just that you pretend you're a part of a team. That is showing leadership. That's showing that you guys care about each other and they're going to respect that and want to behave in a similar way. I think also for leadership is showing up for the campers, coming up with ways that they are going to want to get involved. If they're not super interested in whatever it is you're doing, show up for them by like just pretending it's interesting. Or if they're really dragging their feet, be like, cool, why don't we pretend it's XYZ? Pretend we're super interested in it. And if it is, you get 10 more minutes before lights out. If they're a bit older, you might need 30, but like, bargain with them to find a way to get involved. When it comes to evening check-in, my camp in Maine, we did Rosebud Thorn. We did that at first and then we tried to make it our own and would speak to each other about like, hey, we hate Rosebud Thorn today. How can we do a daily check-in? And then sometimes we throw it out the window just because we'd need an emotional chat. And it's about checking in with your campers to see what they need from you so that you can really perform it to the best of your ability, but also make sure that they're actually getting out of it what they need to get out of it. Interview tips and tricks. I find I've had quite a few interviews for camp, but also different interviews for seasonal jobs. It is very easy to fall into 2 parties. Either you're a definite no or you're probably a yes. Somewhere in the middle, it's a bit hit or miss, but if you are going to be a definite no, you're unsure of yourself, you don't back what you're saying, you're fidgeting a lot in a anxious, I don't trust myself way, and you just like, most likely yes, you are backing yourself. You are confident about what you're saying. You believe that you know how to do this skill and you believe that you know how to teach others. Camp is about teaching kids to appreciate the outdoors, to appreciate their friendships, to connect with each other, and to disconnect from technology. Prove that you have the ability in your program to teach campers about XYZ. Confidently tell them, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm saying, I believe in what I'm saying, and I have the ability to make a difference in the kids that are sent to your camp. If you tell them that with that amount of confidence, you're sweet. They're probably going to want to hire you. There is a reason they picked your application. It's because they like something about that. It's because they want you and they want your skill. Trust in yourself to teach that skill and to better the people around you, and you're sweet. You're going to be able to get those jobs. It's about you being able to show up and be like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I trust myself. I know a lot about this activity. It's about you also not being nervous and doubting yourself, because they read that doubt very well and they're not going to want you. Another tip, take a breath before acting. When it comes to being a counselor, everything is so, you gotta move, you gotta be there, you gotta act really quickly, you gotta think on your feet, you gotta move. You have 11 different personalities going through a lot of things at once. If you're in a female cabin, you have 11 different people going through hormone fluxes at once, plus all the counselors. There is a lot going on. There's a lot of moving pieces. And on top of that, you have to be able to run activities for who knows how many kids at once. When you are in a crisis, when you're in a difficult situation, when you start to be unsure, it is so easy to make the wrong choice and to quickly jump before thinking. When it comes to a high stress situation like that, please take a second, take a deep breath, and then act. I have been in so many situations working in a special needs camp where people will just act slightly too quickly and take a step back and be like, I should have done this instead of this. And I've done it myself, where I've been like, oh, I made the wrong call there. Having a second to take a deep breath, think over your thoughts, and then act. It can take you 3 seconds to change your choice, but make a better choice. It's going to change the outcome. It's going to change your relationship with the campers. And sometimes it's really hard when they're poking, and you just like snap. But just please, if there is a situation like that, just be like, hey, I need 10 seconds. I need you guys to, so I can explain to you why what's going on isn't the right choice. Use your words, but please, when you're in a high stress situation, take 2-3 seconds, take a deep breath, recenter yourself, and then go back into it. And you are going to save a lot of people's feelings, but you're also going to save yourself a lot of heartache. Especially if you're a stressed person or you have ADHD and your brain runs a million miles an hour. It can make such a big difference just taking that breath and making sure you actually know what you're doing. Okay, your mental health and emotional wellness. This is such a big thing when you are doing such a big job for so long. There is so many people who will tell you this is one of the hardest jobs out there, and it is. You are on so much, and even when you're off, you won't necessarily get to be off all day. Like, you will go back to your camp and be around your campers because you sleep in the same room. Having that level of stress and that level of just constantly being around people and trying to make sure you were giving them your 100% even when you were only at 50% it takes a lot from you, and it takes a lot from your mental health. Please make sure you are doing things to check in with yourself. All those annoying tips and tricks that people give out, like looking after your body, making sure you get in daily intentional movement, annoyingly really do help and really make a difference in the long run. But making sure, if you're into journaling, take some time to write out your thoughts. If you're into moving your body, even if you're not, find some way to intentionally move your body. Even if it's stretching for 5 minutes before you go out and do everything, that can really help. with keeping you as a human being as long as possible. Making sure that you are doing something for yourself. Make sure you're drinking water. If you're religious, make sure you have some Bible study time. If you aren't religious, go out and touch a tree, touch grass, making sure you're connected with nature. There are so many things you can do to make sure you look after yourself. Even things as like taking care of your skin. It's such a big deal. Your skin will clear up when you go out to camp. That's 100% true. But make sure you moisturize after every day, because the sun and the water is all getting in there and getting you all nasty. So making sure you have time to wash off every day and you go to bed nice and clean makes such a big difference in how you're going to feel for the rest of the week. Creating teamwork amongst your campers is such a weird thing to say, but especially the like middle girls or middle kids, when they start to get a bit too cool for school, can be like they don't really want to participate in activities, and unless there is a prize, they're not interested. If you're lucky, you'll go to a camp that every single activity has a prize, but I find having that level of camaraderie and teamwork is really, really nice, and coming up as counsellors with different rewards that they can win can be really helpful. So speak with your co-counsellors. Can you get extra decorations, and you guys are going to pull together $5 each and buy some cool decorations for your cabin? Something silly like they can dress you to go down to breakfast one day if they do their chores all week without having to fight. Finding ways they can work together and encouraging them to work together towards a goal is really nice to help them like want to work as a team, want to work as a unit, especially when they start to fight and get into little quarrels because they've spent the last 5 weeks together and they still have 2 weeks to go, and they're getting tired and sick of each other, and so who were best friends at the start now hate each other. What can you do to sort out that kind of tension and make them come back together as a team and a unit? That's where you're going to really start to see your cabin blossom. Like I said earlier with the leadership stuff, creating a sense of trust with your campers is so important, because it's going to help your campers to believe in you and to back you and to want to do what you're saying, because they trust that you're saying it for a reason. Building a trust is such an underrated skill, and if you can do it from day dot, by the end of camp you can have such a strong bond. They're going to want you to come back. They're going to tell their parents, who tell the camp directors that they want you back, that you're going to get glowing recommendations from your camp. Building that trust is like such a core part of being a counselor. It's also going to help them trust you with their feelings, so that when they're having a hard time, you are there for them to lean on, and they don't have to go through whatever it is by themselves. They are comfortable to sit down and talk to you and be like, my parents are going through a divorce, I miss my family, I have my period, whatever it is. Like, they're comfortable to come to you with all of their problems, and it's going to make it so much easier for everybody. How to make a decision as a counselor can feel a bit icky sometimes. How are you and these random strangers who you've gotten paired up with to be in your cabin going to come together to make the right choice for your campers? What are your set of rules going to be? Who's going to be in charge? Generally, it's a lot easier than it feels like it's going to be. You can have time with just the people who you are co-counseling with before the campers arrive. So you'll move into a cabin with just a random allotment of people for the first few days, and then halfway through training-ish, they're going to move you into a different group, and that's going to be your core group of counselors. And during that time, you can discuss everything. You can talk about, what are we going to do for chores? What are we going to do to make sure that the division of labor is equal. How are we going to make choices when we're by ourselves in the cabin and everybody else is out in there? Do not stress. You will have time to talk about it, but please, when you feel those feelings about, hey, I didn't really like how this was handled, can we come up with a system to do it better? Talk about it as soon as possible, because it's going to make everything so much easier. I think that is it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any more anxieties that you're feeling stressed about and you would like me to talk about, please leave them down below. But other than that, I'll see you next week. Bye guys.